Mayor LaToya Cantrell says the Morial Convention Center could be used to house COVID-19 patients to help alleviate the surge of patients in hospitals. The convention center served as an evacuation center in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, an inadequate one. But as Paul Dudley reports, leaders say they're prepared.
Leaders at the convention center say that state officials have already done a walkthrough of the property. The governor says this is just the latest step to prevent hospitals from being overwhelmed. A familiar site in New Orleans could be used to house up to 3,000 non-critical COVID-19 patients.
We are giving consideration to the Morial Convention Center for this.
Governor Bel Edwards says hospitals in New Orleans could start to be overrun and that moving patients who are in better condition to the convention center could open up valuable beds at area hospitals.
When a patient is sufficiently recovered and no longer needs to be in an acute care bed or an ICU bed, that we have another place where they can go, that frees that bed up.
New Orleans city leaders say they've already activated one state contract, giving them access to up to 35,000 healthcare workers from across the country to help staff the convention center. Medical students may also be assigned to help.
Urging them to allow for their students to get the best training that they can receive on the ground.
In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, thousands of people evacuated to the convention center after the Superdome couldn't handle anymore. The conditions were not up to par, not enough medical supplies, food, or water. Mayor LaToya Cantrell reiterating tonight that leaders are prepared.
We will be able to have staffing to meet the needs of the 3,000 patients that will receive support and services at the convention center.
Mayor Cantrell did not say if this was going to be a challenge to get these workers from across the country, as this is a national health crisis. The Lens reports that leaders here at the convention center don't expect for this to be as bad as Hurricane Katrina, but they do want to be prepared. That's a story outside the convention center. Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News, back to you.
Now, the governor says the convention center is just one of the locations he's looking at, but he's stopped short of the specifics. Now, we did hear from Tulane University tonight. They've expressed a willingness to offer empty residence space as part of the COVID-19 response. Edwards said an official announcement on which sites will be used is expected, quote, very, very soon.